Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm testing kind of an impromptu live stream just to kind of talk about some of the things happening in content marketing and SEO. This is a totally new concept here for me, so bear with me while I kind of wing it and do it live, as they say. So today, I want to talk really quick about one of the big latest happenings going on in the world of SEO, which is site reputation abuse. So this is something that Google has started to crack down upon in the last few days. So the first question that you might have is, what the hell is site reputation abuse? So let's talk a little bit about it really quick. Uh, the March 2024 update, so the documentation that Google released associated with the March 2024 update, which, by the way, took, I don't know, 60 days or something to fully roll out. It was crazy. Um, Talks about this idea of site reputation abuse. So let's just summarize really quickly Google's explanation here. So they say sometimes websites that have their own great content may also host low quality content provided by third parties with the goal of capitalizing on the host site's strong reputation. For example, a third party might publish a payday loan review on a trusted educational website to gain ranking benefits from the site. Such content ranking highly on search can confuse or mislead visitors who may have vastly different expectations for the content on a given website. So, what are they describing here? Essentially, what they're describing is sort of the power of what we often call domain authority or domain ranking, right? When you look at a website, it generally has sort of an overall authority score in your tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush, etc. That authority score is sort of a measure of how much value does Google give this domain, and the higher the domain authority, generally the easier it's going to be for a site to rank in Google for pretty much anything, pretty much everything, right? Now, behind the scenes, what Google is really trying to do, or what we think Google is really trying to do, is balance this idea of domain authority. So, how much value, how much weight should we put on a site just generally being good and popular versus what we often refer to as topical authority, meaning how much weight should we put on the fact that this website is an authority on a specific topic, but not other topics. And so, what we've seen over the years is that essentially big domains, especially publishers, Forbes and Newsweek and many of these sites. We'll talk a little about some of the specific examples in a moment. They build up a bunch of reputation, they have very high domain authority. And because they can do that, they can publish all kinds of content and sort of push out all of the smaller websites based solely on the fact that they have a really high domain authority. Now, some people say that's great. We want high reputation publishers. Other folks say, hey, that sucks. You're pushing out these folks who have spent years building a site dedicated to a specific topic, and instead you're sort of replacing it with content from this generic publication like a Newsweek or a New York Times or whatever that has a strong overall authority, but they aren't necessarily an authority on that specific topic or that specific niche. So that's kind of the balance that we're pulling, that we're trying to find here, and I think ultimately that's the balance that Google is trying to strike behind the scenes. We saw after the latest update, a lot of people noticed and complained about the fact that many search results, many SERPs were overloaded with content and pages from these big domains, these big brands that had a big hulking presence. Whether you were looking for information on cars or coupons, you were getting the same few domains that had content relevant to those topics. And so I think what Google's trying to do right now is dial that back in. They're trying to figure out how to find that balance. By the way, before I forget, I just want to mention this topic, site reputation abuse, is also known as Parasite SEO, right? So you might have heard that term. Parasite SEO basically means it's basically the same general premise. You're taking a site that has a high reputation, you're using that reputation to rank for keywords that are not necessarily sort of within its purview or its sort of traditional area of focus, but you can rank for those keywords anyway based solely on the high authority of that domain. So let's talk about some of the specific happenings right now with respect to Google. So first of all, I have to give a huge shout out to Lily Ray. Lily Ray has been sort of documenting. I mean, she documents pretty much everything that's happening in the SEO universe. So if you're not following her already on Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever you're at on social medias, go follow Lily Ray. She is sort of like an up to the minute ticker on the latest happenings in SEO, and so she shared this example. So one of the big areas where we've seen Google crack down in the last couple of days is the topic of coupons, right? So folks who are looking for coupons for Walmart or for specific products, this is an area of the internet that has been sort of a subject of this Parasite SEO strategy or this site reputation abuse. And so you can see here, Lily shared this screenshot of the rankings, the top 10 rankings. You can see there are, sort of traditional coupon websites like a Groupon and a Retail Me Not, and then there's sort of a long list of, again, sort of major publishers that are also trying to sort of capitalize on this search traffic. So LA Times and Wired, Time.com, CNN, The Washington Post, Glamour, USA Today, are basically sort of a laundry list of the largest websites and publications in the US, have all seen that this is an opportunity to sort of grab some traffic, potentially monetize that traffic through these coupons or ads or whatever else is happening. And so Google's response to that has been essentially what they call a manual action, right? So they have penalized these sites or at least these specific pages on these sites to remove them or to rank them lower in the SERPs. So the first thing that you might be wondering is, does this affect me? Is this going to affect me? As of right now, this is probably not going to affect you unless you're in one of these companies that's competing in these SERPs for these keywords and you are affected by this manual action. Chances are very low that you are actually going to be affected by it. Nevertheless, I think the big takeaway for content marketers and for SEO folks more broadly is that Google is clearly trying to sort of right the ship here, right? So once again, we've seen already there's been a big pushback after the March update. People have been complaining about these big sites, these publishers, sort of getting an unfair slice of the search traffic for any and every topic under the sun. And so it seems like Google is really trying to sort of hit back against that. Now, again, right now they're doing that sort of manually, which is sort of a very targeted attack or a targeted action against specific websites and specific pages. But that could mean that in the future they continue to tweak that algorithm to try to swing things back the other way. What that would likely mean is that we would see greater visibility for sites that have authority on specific topics rather than broad authority for their entire domain. That's just sort of a hypothesis of mine, but I think of those two forces as sort of the competing ends of the pendulum that Google is sort of constantly trying to balance out. And so if they sort of dial down the power of the domain authority, then I think what that does is it sort of increases the effectiveness of topical authority or of building sort of that niche authority on a specific area. So a couple final things I just want to mention here. So again, there's been some great discussion. Garrett Sussman from iPullRank has been sharing some great stuff. Nick Leroy also was one of the first folks who I saw mentioning this thing going on and Google taking these manual actions. So I just want to give them a quick shout out. And then once again, I will mention Lily Ray, who has been very, very closely and really sort of picking apart the nuance and the details of what's happening. Again, as of right now, we don't really know what the next step is from Google's perspective. All we know is that this is sort of the first shot being fired, I think, in terms of really cracking down on this idea of site reputation abuse. I think moving forward, what we'll see is that there'll be a little bit more power given to sites that have a more focus and more of a niche topic that they cover in depth rather than some of these bigger sites that cover everything in a very broad way. So that's it for today's live stream. Hopefully it's helpful, and yeah, thanks for joining. Cheers.